you.
We're remodeling
you
the
should see it now.
kitchen, the bathroom, and I'm remodeling my office, so it's a mess.
I still have to do the shares.
Yep.
Okay, I see the live.
Okay. See it? You see it there?
Okay. Yes, I do. I got it. Let me put it on Facebook and do the shares.
Yep.
Bear with me. Okay, I am ready
Okay.
whenever you are, I think. Hold on.
That's okay.
All right, sir.
I'm on the link, but he didn't let me in yet.
Ruben, you got to let Robin in.
Oh, okay. Oh. There
He'll
you
do
go.
it. Close my door.
There you are.
Okay, Lawrence, did you meet Robin the last time you were on the show?
I did.
Okay, so do you have your chat box open?
I do now.
I'm
Okay.
here too. Hi.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Robin. I'm glad you could make it.
Thank you.
Okay. We're ready to go, though. So
Okay, so
make
I'm
sure
going
you
right
mute,
into
okay?
chat and write goodbye then.
Okay.
See you,
Make sure you
Robin.
mute.
I will. Bye. Hi. Good show now.
Very good, Rob. Thank you. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay, here we
Mr.
go. Okay, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and take it, Greg.
Welcome, everyone. It's hard to believe it, but it's actually 6:44 on Monday night, and we are horrendously late, and we thank you so much for hanging in there and waiting for us. This is the 239th installment of the Age Out Angels Radio Hour on www.hamiltonradio.net, Channel 2. I'm your host, Greg Rapport. If you're new to the show, I'm the founder and director and executive director of Age Out Angels. We provide one-to-one mentors to vulnerable youth for the purpose of coordinating the care and services that they need to thrive. And we try to help young people avoid some of the horrible pitfalls that they're likely to face when they don't have a proper safety net. This program is brought to you every week at the same time, courtesy of all the fine people here at Hamilton Radio who allow us to use this airtime. Ruben is on the big board tonight. Robin is producing. So good to have you both, and so good to have you listening from your computers or in your cars in New Jersey, around the country and beyond. Please take a moment. If you're looking at us on Facebook or YouTube, hit all the buttons for me. Don't tell everybody we were late. Just like and subscribe and share, because what you're going to hear tonight and every week on this show needs to be shared. It's not going to be on the nightly news. So come on, help us out and help your friends and other people who will benefit from the information that we provide. Tonight is going to be a special night. We're going to focus on incarceration tonight. And we're going to go into that with our special guest, Lawrence Drenk, who I will introduce to you in just a minute. First, a little bit of housekeeping. Umbrella's inaugural Power to End Adverse Childhood Experiences. This is the Peace Initiative. The Peace Initiative. We should say that softly, right? The Peace Initiative. It's a year-long series of educational workshops and family community engagement events. And the one coming up is this Thursday, November 16th. They call it Roll into Gratitude because it's all taking place. This is just a fun event you should know about. It's happening at the roller rink. Bring your knee pads and helmets. Pizza dinner and skate rental are included. This is at the United Skates of America. Branch Brook Park Roller Skating Center. I'm not going to tell you the address. In fact, I even said it too fast for you to remember it, because you have to go to the Umbrella website to register for this. You know, they need to know how much food to have. And also there's a capacity. And this is being advertised to the entire state of New Jersey. So remember, it's this Thursday. Deadline is tonight, it says, RSVP. But you know how those things are. If it's sold out, deadline was yesterday. And if it's not sold out, deadline is tomorrow. Bridges to employment. Oh, man. I got to tell you guys something. That's really hard to say, okay? I have to pause for a second before I can say this. But I just have to say it. High school is lying to students and parents every single day. Every single day. The old high school norms are being shattered. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're that student who's on the fast track and you're going places and you come from a family of college graduates, you understand what I'm saying. You're going to take the college prep track. You're going to get reasonable scores or great scores on your SATs or ACT, or maybe you'll take both, right? In that case, traditional school is absolutely right for you. Absolutely right for you. I heartily recommend it. Go on, make money. That's what's going to happen for you. But if, on the other hand, you're struggling, you might want to consider an alternative education method, because here's the thing, all right? If you're not going to take the SAT, and there's always some high school guidance counselor who will say, look, I'm going to show you how you can graduate high school and not have to take the SAT, all right? Always somebody to show you how to do that. And that person is just wasting your time. If you're not going to do that, if you're not going to take the SAT and you're not going to be college bound, you know, then here's what's going to happen. Every place you go, you're going to run into a placement test, and it's going to hit like a brick wall. You're going to run into this placement test if you try to get into the military. If you try to get into college and you haven't taken your SAT or an ACT or something that they can use to quantify your knowledge, you're going to hit this placement test, okay? Everywhere you go, if you try to get into an advanced vocational kind of training, so you can make real money, a welder or a machinist or advanced manufacturing production. My, oh my, the money to be made in that is incredible. But here's the thing. If you didn't take the SAT and you can't quantify your skill set, then here's what matters to you. You need to score in a 10th grade level equivalent to pass the placement test. You need to score in a 10th grade level equivalent. So whoever told you that there's an easy way to get out of high school lied. Whoever told you that just getting that high school diploma is your goal also lied, because the high school diploma alone is not enough. You're going to hit the brick wall of the placement test everywhere you go. So the question becomes, what is your grade level equivalent now, and what do you have to do to get it up to the 10th grade? Now, there's money out there, people. There's real money out there. You do not have to spend the rest of your life being poor. You can get vocational training, but you have to be in that 10th grade level equivalent. That's what we're about. Bridges to Employment is getting you to that 10th grade as fast as we possibly can so that we can get you closer to the training you need to get to the money. Call me, 609-306-0821 or Greg at ageoutangels.org. And just say, hey, Greg, where's the money? And I'll tell you. Fact sheet, barriers to successful reentry of formerly incarcerated people. Last updated March 27, 2017. Says here every year, nearly 700,000 people are released from American prisons, and an estimated 9 million are released from jail. There's a difference between prison and jail. We're going to talk about that. According to the National Institute of Justice, almost 2/3 of them are arrested again within 3 years. Once released, formerly incarcerated people face myriad of barriers to successfully re-entering society. They're not allowed to vote, have little access to education, face scant job opportunities, and are ineligible for public benefits, public housing, and student loans. These obstacles have profoundly negative effect on millions of American families and make it practically impossible for millions of people who are returning home to be the engaged, responsible citizens we say we want them to be. Now, into that fiery pit of despair, we welcome our guest back to the show. Lawrence Drenk is the founder of Legacy Programs Education and Reentry, a wonderful program designed to help people who are in that position. And we'd like to hear what he has to say about that and many other things. Lawrence, welcome back to the program. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Greg, and team. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. It's good to see you. And I see, like, based on your new website and stuff, maybe things are looking up for you and the work you're doing with legacy programs.
Things are always looking up. We have right now, we're working on 100% success rate still, since grants and going and creating a coalition throughout California, starting out and then branching out state to state. We have transitional housing. We have a reentry channel that we're working on, and so there's all kinds of stuff. I'm blessed, really.
You're in constant motion. God bless indeed. So listen, man. I told you this before, and I just want to transparency to our audience. Lately, I've been influenced by this fellow named Lance on YouTube, who talks about being incarcerated. And the thing about it is this. See, I saw every episode of Oz. All right. And so I have a TV brain when it comes to understanding what prison actually is. Okay. So my understanding of what prison is you go in and you join which club will protect you. You know, you could join the white people or the black people or the Aryan people. I don't think there's a club for 5'6" Jews. I honestly don't. I've never seen that, you know, what that club is. And I think in my situation, I have to join the Muslims. I think they're my hope in that TV-addled brain circumstance. All right. Now, so Lance says, no, it's really not like that at all. You know, you go in and maybe you're 18 and you're in with hardened criminals, and it's horrifying. And you end up in a cell with somebody who probably doesn't want to kill you. They just want to get along too. And then maybe somebody shows up at your door and says, you know, like a real big guy, shows up at your door and says, hey, cuz, give me one of those cigarettes. Right? And you're in this moment of truth. And you know you're going to give him the cigarette, right? But you also know this is going to now go down kind of a black hole of strangeness. So, Lawrence, I'm going to stop talking now. First of all, what's the difference between prison and jail?
So like there's all kinds of different things. You got the federal, you got state, and you have county. That's how I'd simply break it down. And county jail is just where you go. It's a pit stop. You're going there. You could 1 to 2 year, up to a year it used to be, but now you could do your whole term there. County jail is very Camp Snoopy, depending on which one you go to. I was in a few myself, LA County jail, which was worse than prison. And I'd actually prefer to go to state prison than county jail. County jail still has politics. They're not as the politics in county jail aren't as strict as prison. Politics pretty much gear around your car, your neighborhood, and then when you go to prison, it's a little different as far as what race, and then you get into the prison gangs and stuff like that. Just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, just asking from your anecdotal experience, not expecting you to, you know, to have the stats on it. But when you first went into an adult prison or jail circumstance, were you scared, or were you like, no, I'm just going to kill the first person I see and then everyone will respect me?
I would say 100% of the people are scared, but whether we're going to admit it or not, no. I was scared to death. I went from juvenile hall to California Youth Authority, which was prison for kids, and then I went to state prison, and it was a whole new ball game. You go from juvenile hall, where you're doing 1 or 2 months, going to placements and foster homes and being shuffled around, to California Youth Authority, which is, you know, up to 18, 21 years old. And so there's a time frame. But prison, you go there, they play for keeps. Those are life sentences. Those are LWOPs. That's some real time right there.
What did you say? What?
So LWOPs. Yeah, life without the possibility.
Oh God. Yeah.
So, I mean, to go into that to go into that circumstance of where you're in a cell with somebody has double murders. One of my first cellies killed his wife. And, you know, he had nothing to lose. So I really had to watch myself, my anger, how I interacted, stuff like that. And you have a hypersensitivity to survival and saving your own life.
So what do you do when that guy comes in and says, give me a cigarette? You give him a cigarette, right?
So some people do, yes. I was not that person. I'm a YA baby. I grew up fighting. So it would have been, there's a respect level too, because people normally don't do that. The stuff you see on TV about the prison rape and the punking and the paying rent, it's completely exaggerated. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm. So yes, because the impression that we get is, as soon as you get in, you have to join the side that's going to protect you. Then you have to have sex with everyone until you, I don't know, earn your way up in rank. And younger people, then they have sex with you or something, because that's what titillates a television audience.
Yeah, the thing is that people that want to have sex are going to have sex, and the people that want to use drugs are going to use drugs, and the people that want to gangbang can gangbang. But we have this thing called NACS, non-affiliated convict criminal, and so that's pretty much where you don't belong to a gang. You're just running around doing your program. When I first went to prison, I grew up in gang culture. So I mingled as much as I could. And then it got to a point that when I got married and wanted to do better, I started going to groups. I started getting my education. I started learning a trade, and I got my life together. And I was able to ignore all the crap. I mean, there's stuff that comes with it, but your choices and decisions are different based off of the environmental factors that you put yourself into or that you contribute to.
Okay, so you do have a certain number of options.
Yeah.
And
Would you believe that we play Dungeons and Dragons in prison? So, I mean, we play Magic the Gathering. We play Dungeons and Dragons. I was nerd. I love the nerds, and we called us the nerd herd, and we just sit there and play Dungeons and Dragons and on our off time, and that's how we did most of our time towards the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you know what, though? We shouldn't dwell on that. If some senator sees this and finds out you were having fun in prison, it'll be a reason to cut some other funding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the impression that I get of prison is that when you come out, you'll be a better criminal. That's grad school.
No, and I was looking at some stats. I was looking at stats, a sheet that I was sent, and I disagree with the stats today. I don't know why. I have an idea why, but only because they're so vague. The stats don't show the truth. They just show a perspective. Who's fact checking this? Who's double checking to make sure, and they're misleading. Like for instance, when we're talking about stats between county jail, and prison, yeah, you got more of a population, you got more coming back. But the thing is that uh, you can sit there and say you could call an inmate either state, county, or federal, and it doesn't give us the meat and the potatoes. It just kind of gives us the buns, or the biscuits, and it's not. It can be fudged. So I kind of go off my own stats of let's see, 50 out of over 50 clients of mine, uh, probably I think 90% of them are released homeless. 100% of them never went back. All of them had issues with employment because of the homelessness. So I got my own stats that I go off of, and that's pretty much how I run Legacy now is based off of how I feel and what I see and what I know, because I'm not going to go off of some numbers that I can't fact check myself. And it could come from somebody that's for the prison system or for the incarceration.
90% of the people who enter your program are released from prison into homelessness. Oh, you froze on me. No, come on, come back, Lawrence. If you have to, So, yeah, you back?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so you 90% of the people who enter your program exit prison into homelessness.
Yes.
Okay. And so are you providing housing?
We outsource. So our job at Legacy is pretty much to do the job that nobody wants to do. We go
Right.
into
Is it there? Is that housing available? I'd love to outsource housing if I knew where it was.
Okay, so I'm gonna break it down. $600 million got given for housing for incarceration for formerly incarcerated. The funny thing, not funny, but the horrible thing about it is that we're having a shortage in housing right now, because now you go into who are we going to house? And these organizations, so the prison system is working with, and I'm not even going to name them by name,
Right.
but they have to go through these people to find housing for the parolees. I just went through this last week where I have to go through an organization to find housing, and they're dragging their feet. and they're in no rush. I have a place for them. I just need them to fund it. They will not. They say we have a waiting list. But then when I ask where is he out on the waiting list, they can't tell me. When I ask him to ask them, they say they can't tell him. So there's a waiting list that nobody knows of, that it's top secret. So I don't understand. So I have to go around these organizations, this funding, to find housing, because if they're not funded by that program, they're without a home. And they're so overstaffed or understaffed and overworked with the population that's getting out, that they don't have time like I do to prioritize a single case.
Yeah, and you would think that housing, when you're released from prison, if you have no place to live, that would be part of the workflow of the release, and your parole officer would know this is where you're housed. The system would flow. I guess I must be insane.
Well, and one of the problems I'm having is that they're sending our long-term offenders to SLEs, which is sober living environments. Now, I find that very, very strange, because most of them don't have drug issues. Most of them don't. They don't have, they have no history, nothing in their file. They're going to the clean and sober living environment, which is why we need transitional housing. There's a difference. I house my guys with transitional housing, where they get the education to re-enter society, not just get a breathalyzer when you go back to the house after being kicked out all day. So our funds are being misguided and misdirected, and it's crazy how these big programs are getting all this funding through CDCR, at least in California, but they're not going to any of the organizations or any of the housing places that really can use the money and are doing what they're supposed to do. It's just so we're going to work on our own funding, and we're going to empower the private transitional housing geographic, and where people are actually helping.
Amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So that's 650 million. That's California money?
That's just California.
That's just California money. See, I have it slightly easier than you, because when I have a kid who needs a place to live, I can call like every church and say, do you have a couple of empty nesters who have a room that would accept a young person who just needs a break, right? You make that same phone call and say, look, I got a convict. He's just out after doing 8 years. He's looking for a nice old couple whose house he can while they're away, right? That's you get laughed out of the church, There's So what happens? Are those people in shelters when they can't get that housing?
It depends. So we have a policy: we fight one for one, we fight for all. And we're having issues with 290 registrants right now, where you have to have a special zoning to house them, and they're not allowed at shelters. They're not allowed at most programs. So when I can't find housing for somebody, which I haven't had that problem yet, I'll go outside the county, talk to the parole officer, get him transferred to another county, and then where housing is available. So, and we work well with so many organizations, and I have such great people behind me. They don't let me fail. And so I just make a phone call. Actually, no, I'm not going to say a phone call, because I'm on my phone
all the time.
This last week, I've been on my phone for a week and a half for one guy. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, it's multiple.
Okay, let's break down the categories now. I've just been released from prison. And did I ever tell you I was in a simulation like this one time where I was just released from prison?
No.
Did I mention that? It was the worst hour and a half, of
really?
like 5 years of my life. It totally wasn't. It was just a pretend. It was Dungeons and Dragons for social workers. That's all it was, and it scared the hell out of me. Okay, so here's what it says. About unemployment. Of the 262,000 offenders that were released from federal prison between 2002 and 2006, 50% of those who could not secure employment during the time of their supervised release committed a new crime or violated the terms of the release and were sent back to prison. 93% of those who were able to secure employment during the entirety of their supervised release were able to successfully reintegrate back into their communities and not return to prison. So it seems to be saying here that, I guess employment for a lot of reasons. You get money, you feel like a human being, right? The productive, the self-esteem, there's a lot of reasons that go into employment. Now, more than 90% of companies use background checks in their hiring decision, putting jobs further out of reach for the 1 in 3 adults who are living with a criminal record. 18 states have, okay, so now they're talking about the ban the box laws. Okay, so the ban the box laws are you don't ask if they've been incarcerated. Yeah.
They can't ask, but they can find out. They still look. You could Google a person's name and figure everything else about them. I mean, that's they passed a law to make it sound good, but how effective is it?
Right. Because you know what I was thinking when I was reading this the first time? There's going to be like what a 3-year and 9-month gap in your resume.
Yeah. Well, and they talk about the federal stuff. The reason why the federal parolees can't find jobs is because most of their crimes are white collared, and white collared crimes. I mean, if they're looking into accounting or any type of job that deals with money, which most of them do, they're not going to be hired. So that's why I say I read that fact too, and I was like, I wonder how many out of those crimes are white collared, because they could discriminate anytime they want. I found out here it's who it's just all my jobs have been because of first impression or somebody I knew.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, you're debunking the myths, my friend. Let's go on to the education department. Because again, like employment, education seems to be something that helps make a person move on with their lives. And yet, we seem to make it difficult for them to get, according to this, access to higher education for formerly incarcerated individuals. Now, I guess we should specify a difference between access while you're inside and access while you're outside.
Yeah.
So what was it like inside in your experience for access to education?
Inside is very simple. You have all day to study and to work, and you have the time to do so. They just have caps on classes, like how many classes or how many inmates are in a class. And so if you don't get in when you can, you're just left out until next semester, or, there's no reason for anyone to get out without an education if they really wanted to try. It is possible. As far as out here, education's hard to do because there's a thing called surviving versus living. And when you're surviving, so when you're surviving, you can't think about anything extra. Like when I'm working 15-hour days at work 6 days a week at a sawmill, normally I'm out on injury. But do I have time for an education? Where am I going to find time? 15-hour shifts. And normally the reason it's hard for us to get jobs out here or go to school out here is because we have to take the grunt jobs. We have to take the jobs that nobody wants. And those jobs usually require heavy labor. They usually take up time. They're time consuming, and they usually work us to death. Most of the formerly incarcerated are some of the hardest workers I know. And we will work until we break, and there is no stopping us. So the education out here, it's just not possible with the pay, the cost of living, and the time.
So really, the best advice you could give someone who's in prison is get as much education as you can.
Yeah, get your education.
Yeah.
Write a book. Most of all legacy was done in prison since 2014. I wrote out everything that I'm doing today. And so what ended up happening was I had the time to do that, to really think. I had, between the groups and between the education, I did this. I don't have time to do that anymore. All the curriculum that I wrote in prison. There's no way I could do it out here. So yeah, get your education while you're inside. It will serve you when you get out here, go for human resources, go for public serving, jobs, because drug alcohol counseling, get the jobs that are realistic, the education that's realistic for those jobs. Because what happens is, for instance, I got a HVAC trade in prison back in 2015, and today I can't work as an HVAC technician because my parole officer says that I can't go into homes. So
Oh, Jesus.
there's a $40,000 education down the drain and a damn good pay for that. But because these terms and conditions pretty much run my life and tell me where I can go from point A to point B, I don't have I'm wasting a $40,000 education just waiting to get off parole.
My goodness. How long does that monkey stay around your neck?
Oh,
That
my
you can't
friend.
go into a home. Does that last for the rest? You're a young man. That can't last the rest of your life.
About another year. I'll be off parole soon.
Okay.
But because they can dictate. So the reason why parole works the way it does, and since we're on the jail and prison thing,
Yeah.
so when you're released on probation, you have no services. You have nothing given to you. Pretty much you're out the door. Hey, come on, piss in a jar once a month, and that's it. That's how probation works. There's no housing. There's no education. There's no assistance. You're not even going to talk to your probation officer unless you're getting arrested. Parole, they watch you like a hawk. They sit there and check on you once or twice a month. They sit there and give you terms and conditions that you go by and keep you accountable to those. But the problem that we're having is that these terms and conditions are boxed in, so that they're pretty much restricting you to nothing. And then they say, hey, 3 years you can go and you can do whatever you want. So there's no step down. There's no like, hey, you've been on parole for 3 years. We're going to give you more freedom. The most I've gotten is 1 visit per month, down from 2. And that's 3 years parole, no infractions, no violations, no issues with law enforcement. In fact, we work with law enforcement. So I'm the only parolee that works with parolees and parole and is allowed to, and, trains people and consults how, cops and offenders come together as human beings. But the problem is with parole is that we're worth $92,000 a year without food, without shelter, and without clothes. We are a free paycheck. And that's the problem is that the inmate on parole or off of parole is worth so much. And we're self-sufficient out here. And if we're not self-sufficient, we're homeless. And if we're not self-sufficient and we're homeless and we want to go and we want a free ride, we go back to prison.
Okay. I have to go back, though, to something that you said. This is just so eye-opening. You said you have the time. Now, again, applying a television mind, they don't make you work. I don't want to say the word license plates, but they don't make you do things. Is there a prison laundry? I mean, how do you have so much free time?
There's jobs there. I mean, they pay 8 cents an hour, but they just passed a law in California. They bumped everybody's pay. They doubled their pay. So now instead of making 8 cents an hour, they're making 16 cents an hour. But this is how they got around from paying people decent money, or prison wise, is they cut their hours to 4. So now they only work 4 hours a day in prison in California, and they get paid doubles, which equals out 8 cents an hour after 55% of your earnings is taken out for restitution or court fees. So all the taxpayers you think you're paying for the trials and court fees, the inmate does. And so they take out 55% of that out of a $20 paycheck per month. You're getting about $8.
Okay. So if you're a bad gambler, that's not going to last long.
No.
Which brings us to is the commissary, is the company store, is that real?
Yes. What they don't tell you is how much they're scalping people. A regular soup, a cup of soup is about 75 cents. Just one soup. A regular, the case you get for $6, you pay about 13 or 14. During COVID, they spiked up absolutely everything they could, by I think 300%. And then they caught them, so they were forced to lower their prices again.
So wherever there's a dollar, there's somebody
Oh,
there. There's somebody
the
there.
prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, the prisons make so much money. And you know what people don't realize is that prisons are self-sufficient. They make their own laundry, they make their own lunches, they make their own food. They're getting paid. In fact, you know where the scraps go with the food, the leftovers? They go to a pig farm, and the pig farm pays the prison for the extra food.
Mm.
So, like, there's money in absolutely everything. And then people are like, well, we're paying, my tax dollars are going towards inmates. No, your tax dollars are going for the COs, their babysitters, because what's happening is the food is getting worse and getting less. Is that my Wi-Fi or yours?
I think we're good.
Oh, okay. The food is getting less and worse. There's no real meat anymore. It's all like tofu or soy. The clothes are getting so thin that the jackets aren't even fluffy like they used to be. They're just regular jackets, a windbreaker. That's all you get. The boots are they you run through the boots every 2 weeks, and so but we make the boots, we make the clothes, we make the food, all the money that goes in. I don't know how it costs so much to house an inmate today, really, but that's just my perception.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, they're clearly paying for the whole administration and everything else, although now a lot of prisons are private, right?
No, the
No?
private prisons are getting shut down.
Okay.
They got shut down because they were shuffling the inmate population over there because we were so overpopulated that they would do these compliance checks. And so what they do is they put on 20,000 inmates on a bus to transfer over here for 3 days or for 3 months. And while those inmates are on that bus, they're not being accounted for. And that's how they brought down their number to be in compliance. And then right now, as even the regular 11 prisons are shutting down, they're over. Now the other prisons are feeling the overpopulation.
Yeah, boy, you're absolutely 100% right. If you are out there and you don't have a place to live, then you're really not thinking about algebra. That's
No,
that's
no.
not something
And
you
that's a
can do.
problem. I was just having this conversation with one of my staff the other day, and we were talking about, if you're homeless, if you are homeless and you don't know where you're going from one day to the next, how are you going to figure out where you're going to work? How are you going to figure out how you're going to get there? Your mind is in such temporary absence that you're not thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about, look, I need to get somewhere warm. I need to get somewhere where I could either charge my phone if I have a phone. I need to find some food. So, and that's what the system is set up for us to fail. Believe it or not, even parole, probation, it is not there for our success. It's there to watch us fail and to hold us accountable when we fail. But if you go on the CDCR website and you see all the services that they provide, they'll tell you that they'll provide housing, food, everything.
Yes.
It's absolutely false. Sacramento just put out something that they will no longer, and this is about, I think, last year, no more hotel vouchers, no more food vouchers, no more clothing vouchers. They might help you get a bus pass, and that's it.
Now, when you exited prison, did you exit with someone waiting for you?
I was released homeless, and I owned a home up north with my wife. So yeah, I did have somebody, and I had property, but parole wouldn't made me parole to my county of commitment. So I was stuck all the way down in LA, but my house was right up here by the Reno, Nevada border, and they made me wait 3 months and before I could even transfer up there.
So you were homeless. What did you do when you were homeless?
I was homeless for 2 weeks, with nothing except $200. My wife had to drive all the way down to get us motels for the 2 weeks, and then I went and stayed with a pastor and his wife, from a church that I burglarized when I was 15 years old.
Okay, now you are you an ordained minister at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so was that the germination of that part of your life there when the church took you in?
Pastor Carl is a big reason I am a pastor today, and I owe a lot of that to him. I mean, the prophecies that people that spoke, I owe them, but most importantly, Pastor Carl, where he was like, "You need to do it. You need to follow through with this, Lawrence." And I was like, "Pastor, I don't think I'm going to be a good pastor. I cuss, I smoke, I listen to rap music." And he's all, let God sort that out. Just you have a message to send to people, and how you talk to people is different than how I talk to people, and that's what's important.
Yeah, it's amazing how your life changes on little things, and how so here in your case, um, here you have a wife who is willing to give you some support, and then I guess just fate, luck, whatever you want to call it, divine intervention to take you to the pastor who becomes essentially your magical helper on the road to life. But not everybody has that.
No.
Do you find that a lot of people's families don't even want them around?
Well, that's the crazy thing, is that the number of justice impact families is 1 in 6. I'm going to go with those numbers because those numbers I know are true. The military is 1 in 12, so virtually the prison system population is bigger than even our military. What's happening is, from my 50 something people that I have done intake, I've done everyone's intake myself, and I've assessed their file. I would say that an average, maybe 1 out of 3 has maybe one person. I've only had like 2 people come out with a family that's willing to help out, but even with families, they're still released homeless because something parole sitting there saying that they can't go to their home. They have to go and check the home out, and they're saying, "No, we don't want you here. Instead, be homeless." So, but most of people don't have support.
It just seems like so hell bent on making sure if you have a solution, there's a reason you can't do it. It's like you need a plan A, B, and C, and you're starting out with absolutely nothing and no plan at all. So how can you have 3 layers of planning? Yet these statistics, which I have a feeling you might agree with, indicate that if a person has their education, their chances of recidivism and everything else, are so much, their chances of becoming successful are so much better. It's just amazing. What I've been thinking a lot about lately, though, I got to tell you, I've been thinking about the sort of the way people are wired. When you were growing up, into the environment that you grew up in, and the background and everything that you had when you were growing up. When you go into survival mode, you get wired a certain way. And it's, how difficult is it when you're there to do what I ask young people to do, which is got to start striving for a middle-class life. It's almost like stupid, it's almost like opposite of what a person who grows up in this environment is wired to do.
Man, is my Wi-Fi out? Okay, cool. Sorry, I got to keep checking. My office has horrible Wi-Fi.
Okay.
No, look, if somebody's going to come to me and tell me about an education, I'm going to laugh at them. Maybe not to their face, but I'm laughing. I'm snickering behind them. What I find productive is jumping in the hole with them, and more mentoring than just advising people like, this is what you need to do. Mm-hmm. No, what you need to do is leave me alone if that's the case, because you got to remember that with that environment, we have authority figures issues. We don't want to listen to somebody tell us what to do. So even when somebody's coming to help us, our coping strategy and mechanisms for that is the wall. We don't want to work with it. You're not going to tell me what to do. So like with my guys, I jump in the hole with them. I go, look, I'm going to be that Samaritan that jumps in the hole and sits there and says, and he's going to look at me all crazy. I'm going to say, I know how to get out of here. That's the mentality that we have to have when facing, telling people, but Greg, there's no way I could have thought about an education. I didn't know if I was going to be alive the next day. So why do I care about an education that I don't know if is going to serve me in 20 years from now when I can't tell you from one day to the next if I'm going to be alive?
Yeah, yeah. It started when we were both like 5 years old. I was groomed in my household. You know how you grow up. My grandmother would tell me my whole life in like 5 steps. You go to school, you get married, you be an electrical engineer. 3 steps. That was it. You know, my whole life. I was hearing that since I was 5 years old. The biggest thing in our family was graduate college. And when you were 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, right? Was there a place in your mind where you were looking ahead to your future? Were you seeing a family? Were you seeing a house?
No, I saw. That's a good question. Yeah, I didn't see. It was almost like a black hole. Like today's not going to matter. Tomorrow's not going to matter. Why do I care about next week? I'm never going to. You adopt the belief that I'm unlovable, that nobody supports me, that I am a money sign. I am worth so much money because even, at 11 and 12, I was in group home. So I was worth so much per month to that home and to the county that I was part of. But no, because, in those moments, you don't see past your hand. You're not looking past your hand. You're looking at your hand. So it's hard to focus on tomorrow and the things that are going to help you and save you. And it's almost like a rite of passage to just screw up your whole future in 5 years.
And would money matter to you? If I said to you, you know what, if you just stop being the way you are and go to school and do this right, you'll be getting $5,000-6,000 a month. How's that sound? Nothing.
No, I'd rather live.
All right. What if I told you you'd have the love of a good woman? Or whatever you like.
I had 5. I was young. I was a juggler, there was nothing in my life. I was living so fast, Greg, in my life that I've done and everything possible. And I think at the time I adopted the belief that that was my lifestyle and I was going to live like Scarface for the rest of my life. And then you get to a point in life into your 30s when you actually mature. So the when a male matures, it's usually 23 years old, they're saying now. It didn't take me till I was 30 to realize what I had to offer. And my wife, when I married her since 2014, that was a game changer. That's when it was no longer me, just Lawrence. It was husband, father. I played these roles, and that was the thing. Is as a role as a hellraiser, you're sitting here like this. Just it's all about you. Now you got to be responsible for other people. Your credit's entwined. Your car insurance is entwined. Like you don't have that right to be an individual to some extent.
So your thoughts before all this are just you're going to do whatever it is you do, and that's your life. And then if you die, you die, and that's that.
Yeah.
Like you could accept death.
Absolutely. Death was I still welcome death. I have no issues with death. My time to go is my time to go. But before it was like I was looking for it. I was like, let's see if they kill me on this one. Go grab a couple guns with the friends and let's go bust in this house full of people that we don't know what they're carrying, but hey, let's roll the dice. It was very careless. It was very immature and short-minded for sure.
Are you saying that you should have gone to prison?
Prison saved my life. I should be in prison for the rest of my life. What I think about it. I got away with a lot of stuff. I got caught for stuff I didn't do. It kind of evens itself out. But yeah. Prison saved my life. I'm super grateful for it, for the opportunity to know what I know, to help the people I help, and to when you go through life, it shapes of who you are today. You don't disown all that growth because that's what it is. 20 years of growth. It's 20 years of misery and struggling, but you know what? I'm strong as hell today. And I owe all that to that experience. You can't dictate what experience you take in life and say, well, this is what's going to, you know, help me and what's not going to help me. You kind of just GPS it and use it as a guidance system.
So you're glad you made that change and that you're not still trying to raise hell or dead.
I would have been dead on the streets.
Yeah. So you're glad you made the change, he asked a second time.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The change is totally worth it. I'm glad I got an education while I was in prison, most importantly.
How much education did you get?
I got a lot of credits and just a couple degrees and stuff like that. And it really did it was almost like a confidence builder, because I sat there, I was always stupid growing up in school, you know, because I didn't apply myself. And then I get to a point in life where I want to be something and I want to do something with my life, but I have no idea where I want to go. So I just sit there and dibble dabble and this and that and pretty much throw against the wall and see what sticks. And I'm 42 next month or in a couple months. And today I'm a counselor and, you know, I'm a pastor. Like I'm HVAC technician. I got a lot of stuff to go off of, and it's a self-esteem booster.
Yeah. And you're not getting shot at. That's good too.
Yeah.
Right. That's good too. So yeah, so there's all this information here about housing, and I guess this would make you cringe. Just because there are ways to not get housing. I mean, built into the law that, you know, that I'm kind of looking at right now, there are ways to not get housing. It says since 1975, federal regulations have instructed public housing authorities to consider the criminal history of applicants for public housing as it relates to criminal acts that would affect the welfare of the other tenants. Consequently, most public housing authorities have adopted blanket screening policies that reject applicants with criminal backgrounds. So there, you're cooked.
No DV, no sexual, and no murder. And they could decide what crime they want to let in at any point in time or discriminate against. It's discrimination.
Yeah, that's what they say here, actually, that it is discrimination, that it's really completely up to the individual building, you know, of what they decide that they want to do. And there's all these codes under the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's 1996 one strike policy. There's rules. I guess it all boils down to people making a living from the structure that makes the rules. What about voting?
Oh, I think in California we can vote now. I have not tried or even looked into that. All I've known my whole life is that I can't vote due to the felony. So it's like, hey, we'll take your tax dollars, but you can't vote.
Right, right. It is getting changed a little bit here. Each state has its own laws regarding the deprivation of vote. 34 states prohibit voting by people who are either in prison, on parole or probation, and post-sentence. 12 states permanently disenfranchise people who have completed their sentences in their entirety.
You ever think of why they say people in prison can't vote?
I always thought that, you know, that's a deterrent to commit crime. I'm sorry, I grew up so sheltered.
No, you're good. No, the reason is because the inmate population, you're talking about 700,000 people just in prison alone, 9 million people in jail, period. So
They might be Democrats.
Yes. So what ends up happening is they're going to vote. They have the power. They have the numbers. The politicians don't want those numbers against them, because then they're going to have to sit there and compromise their whole platform to please people that are incarcerated. So if you take them out of the equation, which that's a lot of votes, and then you could sit there and use them as a platform just to, you know, like they say, Black Lives Matter every 4 years. You know, family reunification matters every 4 years. Reform matters every 4 years. You know, then it's like a pawn, but they don't want those numbers out there where I get to vote in somebody that's soft on crime or has a perspective of not warehousing us. Because most of the politicians that are telling us that we can't vote are the ones that are invested into the prisons themselves, whether it's license plates, candy, freaking, anything you could think of. They have investments. In fact, the GTL, the phones, they just found they were charging like $5 a phone call. They were, $5 for 15 minutes for a free phone call. And so they were forced to take care of that. Now, I don't know about my facts, but from what I heard, from what I know from personal knowledge, is that the Pelosi family had a lot to do with that, but that's neither here nor there. Um, you know, but they're invested in all that stuff in there, in the prisons, even the packages. So you get quarterly packages, and now they stopped it where the family members, a long time ago they did this, where the family members can't send you anything. It all comes from a prepackaged company, Union Supply, Access, Walking Horse. And so what happens is these prisons sit there and say what companies are going to allow as their vendor, what the inmate is allowed to order from who. And so the Walking Horse is owned by retired COs. And so all that money that they're charging for, I think every time I go into Walmart and I see a shampoo or something, I tell my wife, I go, I paid $7 for that. Or a thing of goldfish, I paid $4 for that. And I see these prices out here and I'm like, I paid way too much. And these packages are 450 ounces that have to last you for 3 months. And 450 ounces usually comes out to about $400, depending on if you buy clothes or not. A clear white 15-inch TV is about $300.
So you could
with
buy
no
a
remote.
TV like you could buy a TV to have it in your cell.
Yeah.
And how does it plug in like to the cable? How do you see shows and stuff?
Well, some prisons, they have antennas that you have to use, and you see all these antennas sticking on walls and upside down and loops, and it's something.
Right.
Sometimes it gets a little tricky, but some prisons, they have cable outlets.
Can you have a
You
computer?
get basic channels. No computers, no phones, no internet access. You get these tablets now that they're doing in California that you could text people and send videos and stuff like that. And they did that because, got to keep in contact.
So you could write. Like, did you do the whole plan for Legacy in longhand?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I wish so. This isn't it right here, but I have all my curriculum. And that's over like 100 lessons. It's like 6 1-year programs, and I have all my why we different. I had all this planned out in prison, where when I said, when I get out, I'm going to make this a reality. And that's what was one of the things I held on to. That's one of the things that kept me seeing, like, I got to get out of here. I got plans.
I'm so sorry we have to go, because when I start talking with you, we could go on for hours. When you realize all of these large systemic obstacles, and you can't change them, that's when we both end up trying to help things on the person-to-person level, because you can help a person, right? Do you have any thoughts at all about, maybe making the connections that you need to talk to the legislature or someone like that? Or would that just like make you crazy?
I don't have the connections like that. I mean, I just do what I can in the shadows and just try to just remain the constant for these men and women that come home, and be that hope for them, and show them what can be done and what will be done, and not to be their voice, but to give them their voice back. That's the important thing. I want them to be empowered through my actions and through my assistance. And so, I mean, if anybody would love to help us with that, I mean, we would be more than glad to, help out and give some ideas.
Now it's the long name of a website, but if you want to donate, folks, you're gonna have to learn it. So you say it first.
Legacy Programs with an S, education and reentry.com.
legacy programs, education, and reentry.com. Legacy programs, education, and reentry.
Yes, sir.
That's all one word.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if anybody's ever wondering what makes Legacy different, is that, with nonprofits, when people give you grant money, you're told how to spend that money. And we remain independent. We want to help out everybody and anybody we want, and we're not owned by anybody or any amount. And that's what makes us productive.
Are you on
Not saying
Amazon?
all of them are like that.
Are you on Amazon Smile?
Amazon?
Are you on Amazon Smile? Yeah.
I don't think so. I gotta check.
Okay.
I probably gotta do that.
All right. It's just that's sometimes an easier way for people to get, to you. But I hope you'll come back sometime and set us straight some more, because boy, do we have the wrong impression. I'll tell you, we have the wrong impression of the system. We have the wrong impression of the people. We have the wrong impression of just about everything. And so we're glad there's people like you coming along speaking in this way. So that's all we have time for tonight. I want to thank you so much for listening at home. Next week, I'll see you again next week. We're going to have another great show. Thanks to my guest, Lawrence Drenk, who I hope will come back again and educate us more in the future. Thanks to our producer, Robin. Thanks to our engineer, Ruben. Music provided by Mozart. I don't know why he works for us. He must need the money. Stay safe, everyone. Until next time, remember, it's only Monday. There's still plenty of time to make this the best week ever. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Hey,
Ruben.
good night, guys.
Good night, Lawrence. Good night,
Hey,
Rob.
thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Your team
Thank
is
you so
awesome.
much.
You're awesome.
Pleasure.
Very,
You
very
bet.
interesting.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you all soon.
Hey, by the
All
way,
right,
I didn't know